I'm Kevin Coleman with the Scioto Post at a meeting of the Scioto Valley Bird and Nature Group, and the speaker tonight is talking about the Ohio Wildlife Center. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Rose. I'm the conservation liaison for the Ohio Wildlife Center, and we are the largest wildlife rescue and rehabilitation organization in Ohio. We're taking in about 9,000 animals a year into our wildlife hospital. So my role in this all is to promote what Ohio Wildlife Center does to the community, especially to adult groups, because even though we've been around since 1984, we just had our 40th anniversary. A lot of people don't know about us and what we do for Native Ohio wildlife. So we rescue, we rehabilitate, and we release as many animals as we possibly can back to the wild.
So how would someone come to you, and what can you do for them?
Well, 90% of the animals that we take in are brought to us by individual citizens. We also have a volunteer rescue and response team that are all trained volunteers and all with all their vaccinations to go out, and they're trained in how to capture injured and orphaned animals to bring to the Wildlife Center. So between the public and our wildlife volunteer rescue and response team, that's how the animals come to us. And then some people just bring them directly to the hospital, to our wildlife hospital.
Like a bird that might hit a window, or an animal that was injured on the road?
Yes. The two most common reasons for animals entering, this is probably true for just about any native wildlife center, it's car collisions and also cats. So I don't have to tell you in a bird club how many birds are killed by cats roaming wild. I love cats, but one of the things I really encourage people to do is keep their cats indoors, or keep them. I have a cat stroller myself, so for my cat. I take him for stroller rides. But yeah, it's not the cat's fault, so we're responsible for keeping our pets indoors so they're not killing and injuring. So that's a top reason that animals enter. But there's all kinds of things.
And you treat only native wildlife, not invasives like starlings or...
We treat native Ohio wildlife, right? Yeah, we don't. If they're injured, we will humanely euthanize an animal that's not native. But we don't. We just are focused on native Ohio wildlife, and then we have a big focus on education, of course. And so we have a whole team of educators that go out to schools and, like what I do, and to community groups and talk about not only the Ohio Wildlife Center, but the whole field of wildlife rescue, because it's global. And that's because I'm involved with some rescue groups in Africa and around the world, and so I put it in context for people that the Ohio Wildlife Center is part of a network of people that are doing this type of work all over the world, rescuing and rehabilitating wildlife.
So how can people contact you and engage your services or take an animal to you?
Yeah, the best way, if you find an animal that's injured, and if it's something that you don't feel comfortable yourself picking it up and bringing in, then you can call the Ohio Wildlife Center hotline, and you can also reach our wildlife volunteer rescue and response team on Facebook, and post on Facebook, and they monitor that 24/7, and they will come around and pick up the animal as quick as they can. One thing that people don't realize is that even if an animal is injured, it can be very difficult to capture them, because they're trying to do everything they possibly can not to be captured. So, for example,
and it could be dangerous too.
Yes, you have to be trained. You have to have the right equipment. You have to have the heavy gloves and so forth. But our volunteers that do the rescue team, they're trained in all that. One thing we have now is mange in fox, and so even if a fox is in terrible condition from that disease, it still can be very difficult to capture them. But we have some volunteers that are just absolutely determined, and they just stay with it until they're able to bring that animal in for treatment.
Where are you located?
We are located, and so we we have two locations. We have our wildlife hospital, which is in Columbus, and then just a short ways from that, up just north of the Columbus Zoo in Powell, Ohio, is where our 20-acre property is, and that's where we do our education programs. That's where we house about 60 non-releasable animals, so animals that have been rehabilitated, but for one reason or another they are not able to return to the wild, like, for example, a hawk with one eye and things like that. Animals that have been illegally kept as pets, and so they're too used to people, like raccoons and things that people take as babies. And so we have about 60 animals up there. We do all kinds of programming up there, and then we have an education team that goes out every day with animals to places all over Columbus and the surrounding areas.
Do you give? Do you speak to classrooms?
Yes, we speak to classrooms, we speak to adult groups. We will speak to anybody that wants to know about the Ohio Wildlife Center and about how we can peacefully coexist with wildlife. It is quite possible to do that. It's just all a matter of education and awareness and giving people the tools and the information they need to coexist with wildlife.
How can people learn more? You have a website?
We have a website. There's tons of information on the website and that people can go to. Also, the Ohio Wildlife Rehabilitators Association, which is a group that many of us are members of. We have an annual conference, so they also have a website. There's a lot of information. It's very helpful on there for people that are interested in whether they're just interested in rescuing an animal or knowing about wildlife, or whether they want to become licensed wildlife rehabilitators.
And that is a sticky subject to handle an animal without a license or a permit.
Yes, it's not a good idea, because for the sake of the animal and for the sake of the person. So
and you can probably answer questions about that.
Yes, absolutely. There's all kinds of information both on the Ohio Wildlife Center website, ohiowildlifecenter.org, and also the OWRA, Ohio Wildlife Rehabilitators Association.
And you said you have a Facebook page that is monitored 24 hours?
Yes, Facebook is the Ohio Wildlife Center, we have a Facebook page that has a lot of information about our patients that we're getting in, but also the volunteer rescue and response team has a separate Facebook page where they monitor for people that are writing in about an injured or an orphaned animal.
And you'll take almost any animal?
Native Ohio wildlife, yeah. There's a few things that we're not allowed to take in. We are licensed by the Division of Wildlife of the state of Ohio, so we follow the rules that they make for wildlife rehabbers in Ohio. So there are some animals that we're not able to take in because we don't have the facilities for it, but basically everything.
Okay. Can you...
Snakes, frogs, bats, all the mammals, birds, everything. Yeah.
Can you briefly tell me what you've got spread out here, your literature?
Yeah, this is a new brochure from the Ohio Wildlife Center. It has our hotline. We are a nonprofit. We don't receive any funding from the state. We have to raise all the money on our own to keep it going. And this tells about it's from rescue to release. It tells the story of this one tells the story of a bald eagle that was injured and brought in. And bald eagles have really made an amazing comeback in Ohio, and wildlife rehabilitators have been part of that, as have the Ohio zoos in bringing back the bald eagle to Ohio.
And you've got some books here?
Yeah, I always bring some of my favorite books. A new book about coyotes from Dr. Stan Garrett, who's a professor at OSU, probably the world's leading authority on coyotes. And this is a book that just came out in the spring. This is one of the, I would say, if not the most misunderstood animal, one of the most misunderstood animals that we have in Ohio are coyotes. It's very possible to coexist peacefully with coyotes. Just the more you know about them, the easier it is to coexist with coyotes. They are everywhere. There's a population of coyotes in every major city in this country, including in Los Angeles, New York City, Columbus, Ohio. There's a population on the campus, OSU campus in Columbus. So coyotes are everywhere. We rarely see them because they're so smart. And when coyotes live in urban and suburban areas, they become nocturnal. so we don't see them, but they're there. And there's very, very few incidences where people come into conflict with coyotes. Most of the conflict with coyotes, as is true for probably many species of wildlife, is people feeding them. And so that's part of our education program, is discourage people from feeding wildlife, because it's not good for them in the end. We understand the urge to do that, that you care about animals, you want to help them, but that's part of our job as educators, is to let people know that feeding wild animals can end up really harming them in the end.
Okay, I think I'm trespassing on the time of the Scioto Valley Bird and Nature Club here, so we'll close at that. And
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.